So, who doesn't love the month of January? It's post-Christmas, so everybody's skint, and not to mention, it's absolutely freezing. Gas prices are through the roof. No, but seriously, everyone's paying top dollar, and not to mention the kids that you've just had to spoil for Christmas, and they're still not satisfied, the spoiled little rats. But one group of people that do love a January is football fans, for the reason that if you've had a really bad season to this point, or if you've had a good one, there's always room for improvement. If you spend 100 million in this transfer window, spend 200 million in the next one. We want transfers, and if we don't get them, we are fuming. You can politely piss off out of our club because we don't want you no more, and yes, we don't care that you've won us trophies. And it's certainly a stressful times for football clubs because it's undoubtedly harder to be able to attract top players in the middle of a season. And although there's bad transfers, there's certainly some very good ones, and in this video I wanted to break down the 5 best Liverpool January transfers. Now this list is probably going to be better than what you expect, so make sure that you sit back because there's some absolute bangers. Let's get into the 5 best Liverpool January transfers. Number 1, Virgil van Dijk. Virgil van Dijk signed for Liverpool on the 27th of December 2017. Oh, and what a glorious day it was. The footballing world was in harmonious laughter after they saw the fee that had been paid for a 27-year-old whose biggest achievement to that point was winning the Scottish Premier League title. And to add to the laughter, even Southampton fans were buzzing, with some suggesting that this was going to be the inflated version of Dejan Lovren, a decent centre-back who can do a job for Southampton, but to suggest a world record transfer fee is another level of insanity. The perception certainly was that Southampton's bank account was getting the better end of the deal here, but the German Einstein saw the situation completely different, and to go from the trio of Ragnar Klavan, Dejan Lovren and Joel Matip, who questionably didn't exist for the first few seasons that he was at Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp went from the equivalent of being in a 9-to-5 job in Sports Direct under Mike Ashley to the equivalent of winning the Euro Millions, because Barcelona pinned Liverpool up against the wall, forced them to sell their star player at the time, Felipe Coutinho, for £140 million. And as we all know with Liverpool, when one huge star goes out, you can most certainly expect one star to come in. And when Jurgen Klopp has fuck you money, he spends it very well. Well, 9 times out of 10 if your name is Naby Keita. So he used 75 million of the allocated budget, and after pretty much the perfect start with a debut goal at Anfield against Everton, and then gaining status as the best centre-back in the world, I think it's safe to say that Jurgen got the last laugh on this one. Number 2, Luis Suarez. So speaking of last laughs, the footballing world couldn't contain their piss when Luis Suarez was knocked out of the latest World Cup with Uruguay. And considering when you type in Luis Suarez on Google, the words that follow are teeth, bite and racist. You have the King of Kings and you have the ultimate shithouse of all shithouses, and in a world where you have Emi Martinez and Jamie Vardy, I think it's safe to say that the Uruguayan skin muncher would always take it to a whole nother level. But allow me to take you back to 12 years in time, to 2011. How the fuck is that 12 years ago? Liverpool has been through the Hicks and Gillette saga along with the Roy Hodgson period, but then King Kenny returned, took the reins as Liverpool manager, and the January transfer window was underway. It was time to back the club legend with the right players, as Andy Carroll. So Liverpool swooped in for the teeth-sinking forward, signed him for 22.5 million, and although he had a rather rough start, you could see the ability straight away. And then he turns out to be one of the best players I've ever seen in a Liverpool shirt. I will ask you to find me a Premier League striker better than 13-14 Luis Suarez. Well, now, of course, you have your Henrys, your Agueros, your Lord Bentners, and if your name was not at City, facing Luis Suarez was the only time where the mighty Yellows missed playing Championship football. But when you consider the length of time in the Premier League these guys had in comparison to Suarez, it really goes to show how good the footballing vampire really was, even if he did end up pissing off Liverpool fans in 2019.
Who's going to the final? We're going to the final, so that's all that matters.
Number 3, Daniel Sturridge. Now let me take you back to a time where every kid in school did the Daniel Sturridge dance. This dance took over every maths class, science class, assembly, and was a common celebration amongst the lunchtime football matches. And truth be told, there was nothing better than running through on goal against the East European kids who happily stepped in goal because nobody else wanted to, slotting the ball through his legs, then hitting the D-Studge on repeat. The English striker who signed from Chelsea had one of the most ruthless finishing techniques that I had ever seen. Signs of this was shown at Bolton, and even if it wasn't for the likes of Anelka and Drogba, you would have probably seen more of a chance given to the then 23-year-old striker at Chelsea. He scored 10 goals in his first 14 games, and then in the 13-14 season, Sturridge was playing at a world-class level with his partner Luis Suarez and got 22 goals in 29 games. In fact, for those who don't know, Daniel Sturridge was that good that even when Suarez left, people believed that Sturridge could still replicate the numbers if he was the main man up front, and more importantly, if he could stay fit. There was no doubt that the goals was still there. His biggest battle became his knees, his ligaments, and his body as a whole. Now, after devastatingly missing out on the title in 13-14, then being out for most of the next season, then being loaned out to West Brom and basically failing, it looked like it was going to be the worst ending imaginable for Daniel Sturridge and his time with the Scousers. But it's not all doom and gloom, as in his last full season with the Reds, he was able to get his hands on a very deserved Champions League medal. Now, some would say he didn't deserve it, but he did have 7 Champions League appearances that season and even scored a massive goal against PSG in the group stages. And when you consider that his amazing efforts in 13-14 was not rewarded, I think it's safe to say he definitely deserved to be called a European champion. And although there will always be a what if,
we don't do if buts or maybes like we do absolutes.
Number 4, Javier Mascherano. Now, on this one, I'm technically cheating because he was signed in February of 2007, and the story behind this is actually quite crazy, so get your seatbelts on and bear with me. A third-party investment fund called MSI decided to strike a 10-year deal with Brazilian club Corinthians. MSI, also known as Media Sport Investment, decided to do a deal where they would invest £35 million, invest that into the Corinthians Football Club in exchange for a share with the club's profits. With this deal in place, bigger transfers was more accessible and allowed the Brazilian club to bring in Carlos Tevez from Boca Juniors and Javier Mascherano from River Plate in 2005. Now, it all links together because MSI chose to own the rights of the Argentine pair. So pretty much, if Tevez wanted to leave, he could leave. If Mascherano wanted to leave, he could leave. But what happened next was so unexpected and
fucking illegal
when you unravel their eventual moves to West Ham in 2006. West Ham stated the players signed for nothing on the proviso that they had absolute freedom to move to clubs at a later date. Now, this is where West Ham fucked up and led to a global ban on third-party ownership. Now, because of all the controversy, this resulted in West Ham actually not complying with the rules. As the Premier League would state themselves, third parties could not acquire the right to influence the policies or performance of footballing teams. So West Ham received a world record fine of £5.5 million after being found guilty of acting improperly over 2 transfers. This led to February 2007. The controversy delayed the deal, but a very pissed off Premier League eventually allowed the move to be complete. Mascherano joined Liverpool. The deal was finalised on the 20th of February 2007, and this crazy fucking story resulted in Liverpool getting one of the most complete centre defensive midfielders in world football. And number 5, Felipe Coutinho.
Felipe Coutinho, too easy for me.
Do you remember when I said earlier that Brendan Rodgers had his odd gem of a signing? Well, along with Sturridge, Felipe Coutinho also joined the Reds in January 2013. He joined from Inter for £8.5 million, but Liverpool did not get him easy, even though they got him for so cheap, as Southampton were one of the teams who were in the battle. But Phil Coutinho preferred Liverpool, and thank fuck for that, because let's be honest, for a minute there, a Coutinho worldy goal was the only hope for Liverpool to get a 3 points. And not only did Liverpool get an absolutely world-class version of Felipe Coutinho for such a low fee, but we sold the worst possible version of Coutinho for 25 times the price. It was like promoting the Xbox One, but you receive an Xbox 360. Now, in all fairness, Coutinho wanted to achieve a dream of moving to Barcelona and win some trophies. Now, he actually achieved both of these dreams, but the trophies came at Bayern Munich in expense of Barcelona themselves. Now, I would argue personally that this is the best deal on the list, considering how young and raw he was before joining Liverpool and how world class he ended up becoming. And when it comes to discussing a month like January, you're going to get a lot of highs and a lot of lows, but that has been the 5 best Liverpool January transfer signings. Let me know if there was anybody on the list that I missed out. There was certainly a lot of people who could have been an honorary mention, so get them in the comments down below. Let me know if you like this video, and let me know of any other top 5s that you want in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in a bit.